Hey guys, Mike here. So I appreciate everybody who reached out to me, and I am fine here in Florida in the part I am in. It was the Gulf. It got really hit hard. South Georgia, even heard of the Carolinas. And so my heart goes out to all of them. We went to actually Georgia. I went there Friday morning with my son to take supplies and stuff because they have no running water, no cell phone reception, no power, no nothing. And so, and of course they're living, most of them are farmers, all the chicken farms or chicken houses are destroyed. Trying to help them find their cattle, rebuild the fences so we can get those in there. But the way they make a living is pretty much gone right now. And so we just got to hope FEMA gets in there and everything and starts helping them out, getting the roofs tarped, because most of the homes were destroyed. The trees, I mean, it looked like, I don't know, it just an explosion went off in that whole county and all the surrounding areas. So hopefully they can get the gas stations going, power back up, grocery stores back up. Again, appreciate everybody reached out to us. We're just going to continue to take trips up to our family and just keep running supplies up the best we can, because we did all the hard labor this weekend and got people pads out of their house because most people were trapped in their house. So, rough time. So the good thing is you get to see the best of human beings when everybody pulls together. And again, a lot of you reached out to me and stuff, offering help. So I really appreciate that. It just shows what good human beings you are. So now on with the show here as far as what's going on in the market and stuff. And so we're going to get into one in particular, a billionaire who normally you don't hear a billionaire talk about this and what they're doing and being so blunt about it. But boy, they loading the boat in a certain area. We'll talk about that. And also, everybody talks about this money market, like everybody's going to start pulling their money out of money market and putting in the stock market. But as you can see here, and we'll zoom in, I mean, it actually went up even more, right? So over 6 trillion or whatever it is now in this crazy area here. And so people continue to put money in there and draw that interest rate. Also, I know the market doesn't seem like it's, expanding out or stuff, but this is one of those things where you knew NVIDIA led for a long time. Obviously S&P's up just massive. I mean, in 2024 is crazy. But you see the other stocks, I mean, they have been broadening out, right? And so you've seen them buy beaten down stocks, trying to push them back up as NVIDIA basically has kind of stalled in a range right now. So that is happening. Now, what we talked about with the futures, right? We said if this trend line breaks, that's what I was looking for. Let's see how we do. Do we fill these fair value gaps down beneath, which would make sense to me, and go back into that shade area and try to continue that as support? You can see it bounced on that one right there, came up. We end up rolling back down here overnight, hit that fair value gap, bounced up, and then the market opened on Friday, which I wasn't even around for because I was on the road to Georgia. But again, it's back in this shaded area. So you're sitting there with, support, and that's what you want to turn it. It was resistance for a long time. Now can it turn it into support? That is kind of the key right there. So that's what I'm going to be looking for on Monday for sure. Again, if it breaks down through that shaded area, you got support below that as well. But, we'll see, because so far the bears just hadn't really been able to get us a sustained push down. But we are entering October, right? Tomorrow's the last day of September. So keep that in mind. Now, when you look at the SPY, pretty key here. We're above the 5-day moving average, but watch this level right here. If we do sell down around 569.30 right there, and see if that holds. See if we get a bounce off that level on the SPY. And when we zoom in, you can see it even better right there. But it's the same, song and dance, right? We pop up in the morning and then sell off the rest of the day. That's kind of what we've been seeing, and then try to get some kind of recovery midday. So that's still continuing right now. You look at the Qs. Again, we did not break this level we had talked about on Thursday. I mean, we can't break it on Monday for sure. And if we do, that gap right there will be in play around 477 to 478 right there. And there's all-time highs, right? I mean, so it's right there. And so we just had to be entering. Again, September's will be a rough month. Didn't really happen. Here we're coming in October, right? And so we'll draw this trend line out in case we start to see some weakness. And so if we get down, start heading toward that trend line between 470, 474, whenever we hit it, let's see if that is the case. If not, if we bounce off the support area right there and start heading back up to all-time highs, then that's a whole different story. But, we'll pay attention to it. So they're going to play the market this week. Remember, tomorrow is the end of September, okay? Now, Tesla, again, is grinding up the last 4 days up against the top of this channel right here. We thought we had a breakout. We did not. And it could continue, because remember, we'll mark it out here on October 10th, but that's the big event they're looking at right here. And so, will we break out? We might just grind up against there all the way up to 465. If we do show weakness, again, that fair value gap right there, daily fair value gap, also aligns with the midline of this channel right here, which was resistance for a while, then turned into support. And again, we'll mark this out for the 10th of October to see if they're going to continue just to push this up, which a lot of people think they will, until that event happens. And then we'll see if it's a sell the news event for sure, unless they come up with something absolutely crazy. You do see stocks like Lulu, for example. This right here had a nice move back down, which we'll look at. But again, this one is doing what? It is in a upward trend here since August 5th. That is what's happening. And when you look at this, you clearly see that is a low right there. And so that is a high. That is a higher low. That is a higher high barely. And then there's a higher low again. And then there's barely a higher high. But that's what you see happening up to a shaded area, which should become resistance. Okay, this should become resistance. Again, we came down, filled that gap right there, and there's something we hit, right? What do we hit? We hit the 50 moving average. And so it bounced off of the 50 moving average, and I removed the 100 and 200 so you can see that even more clearly right there. And then it started to gap up from there. And that's what you're just seeing right now. And that's what I'm talking about. This breadth's expanding out because you have so many stocks that have been just crushed down 40, 50, 60%. And so they're starting to buy those up because you got too many stocks that are just overstretched right now. And so this is coming into the 100 moving average, into that shaded area. So was support. We'll see if it's going to become resistance. Now you would think it would be if that's the case, because it has had a nice move up so far. And then when you go over to TLT, which I get asked about a lot, we talked about this channel, I think it was about maybe 10 days ago, whatever it was. And so it's come down to the bottom. And that's where you've gotten this bounce, right? I think it's surprising a lot of people that yields just kept running when they were cutting, which does seem kind of interesting to me, but that's just the way it is. So now we're going to see if we get a bounce back up to start heading back to the top of that channel. And so if they continue to cut, you would think this is going to continue to go up. Problem is yields have just been continually going up, and that's been pushing this down because it's kind of an inverse relationship, right? Now, of course, the stocks that are the biggest winners continue on. We talked about Thursday, right? These Chinese stocks, will the Chinese continue to offer new stimulus programs? And as I said in Friday's news brief, what kind of day would it be without another QE stimulus package from China or an initiative, right? And so now they're going to cut another form of interest rate, so that should help out with lending and all that fun stuff. And so it's just one after the other, and you can see the inflows. Look at the inflows here. Hadn't seen this kind of inflow since 2022. And you can see the box before that, it was just nothing but selling, selling, selling. And so now all of a sudden you're starting to get large money moving back in. And here's one of the guys leading the charge on this. And we'll see if the rest of them are going to follow. But this is pretty blunt when it comes to what this guy's doing in China.
What are you doing now? Did the China moves over the last few days, but just because you were saying in the past you wouldn't go more than 10 or 12%, or the most recent things that we've seen are that you have about 12% of Alibaba. Does that mean you put those aside and you would own even more than that?
As I said, the value at risk model is what I sleep at night. I went over that limit on the Fed announcement, okay, in the last week. Mm-hmm. I went more when they said a day or two ago on their Fed, and last night I did more.
Just Alibaba, or are you talking
everything.
JD, Baidu, PDB, everything. The two Chinese ETFs, everything China. ETF, I would do futures, right? Mm-hmm. Everything. Listen, a long time ago in 2010, I think I said everything. And you would say everything. I remember when you said everything.
And you know what's good?
You were right.
Everything. Okay. So if they, this is incredible stuff for that place. Okay. So it's everything. Now I would love to see a pullback. Okay. Because I will then, my newfound limit, which might have been twice my old found limit.
25%?
You said 10 to 12 is double.
20 to 24%. So
I'm not going to say what it is.
Is the limit 25?
I will have another newfound limit, okay, in a pullback, okay, if I see these absolutely be implemented. Because, again, you can look at these names, and you're talking about single-digit PE multiples with double-digit growth.
But you think there's
And wait a second. Yeah. This is the other thing. You have some of these stocks with 50% cash. Some of these things you just put up on the board, 50% cash, 20% cash, 30% cash. And that cash, depending how the Chinese currency goes, maybe if the Chinese currency is really strong, they'll want them to buy back.
Okay, so David, let me ask you.
They're asking, did you see this thing? Buy back stock, want companies to buy back their stock.
Right, but you're a hedge fund. How do you hedge your risk? What's the counter bet that you put on that, just in case?
You know what? You know, I'm sitting here in a suit. My counter bet is that I don't care.
And this guy is super wealthy, obviously, multi-billionaire, and he's known for having these calls sometimes where he says, just buy everything, right? And he obviously made a fortune in 2010 on doing that. Terrible at running the football team. He owns the Carolina Panthers. Ugh, don't even get me started on that one. I'm not a Carolina Panthers fan, but just terrible at that. But as a hedge fund manager, he's been pretty dang successful. And so we'll see if everybody else starts to roll back in. We won't really know officially until they start rolling out their buys for Q3, right? Yeah, it'd be Q3. And so we'll see if they've increased and stuff like that, because that's what happened to China. They just pulled all their money out of there and started selling them like crazy. And so we'll see, if that's the case. But again, I'm curious to know what it does for our stock market. There's only so much money to go around. And then I show you that chart between Chinese and U.S. And U.S. is up here, right? Some people say it's getting frothy, right? And then China is just and down here, but you doing just a bazooka QE. And if they keep rolling it out, again, it's not about the economy. They'll run the market up, and then if things just don't work and economic news just comes out disastrous, then they'll just sell it off, right? But they'll run it up way before that. That's what you see over here in 08, 2020, right? And so we'll see if this continues or not. But you see these charts, man. I mean, it's rare you see indexes, go up 20% in 13 days. But there's HSI right there. And so that one's been moving up. And we talked about this, had to be months ago. And it was like how this one moves. It's interesting. When you go to the monthly, this is how I talk about these breakouts. I draw these trend lines, and I said, this is how it does. And when it breaks out, it just does an explosive move, right? Because you're seeing money from all over the place moving in here. I even saw read reports now that their investment firms like staying open 24/7 so that people can open the investment accounts and stuff to try to get in on this and stuff. And so it's crazy. I think, like you said, though, eventually you got to have a pullback. You got to have a pullback. So all these charts are looking the same, but you're going to see some of these moves. It's just been absolutely nuts, right? And so we'll see, what happens from here on in. But again, here's like JD.com. All the charts look this way. This is stimulus gaps is what I'm going to start calling them. Everything they put a stimulus in place, boom, gap, 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 gap. And so, the one day they didn't put stimulus in place, what was it? It was red. So we'll see, because eventually they got to start building structure in these charts and stuff. And so we'll see, like he said, and if it does get a pullback, you'll probably see people loading the boat, right? The hedge funds try to get in there super early because they knew this was coming before we ever knew this was coming. I'm sure they got talked to, asked about this, like what's it going to take to get you guys to reinvest. But again, these stocks are just a mess. They're even with these gigantic moves in these stocks, they're still down massively. Now, are they going to reach all-time highs again? Probably not. That'd be surprising. But it's like you said, even it's not had nothing to do with the fundamentals of the companies, right? It really just has to do with nobody trusts that country. That's really the problem. They're the ones that destroyed their economy, destroyed the stocks, and so that's what everybody was nervous about. And I think some people are probably still nervous about it, no doubt about it. But they know. They got to do something desperate, and that's exactly what they're doing. And so, we'll see if these continue to go. And, again, JD, just like all the rest of them, all the charts look the same, okay? You look over here, and you can see this is what I think people want to see, right? If you can get the pullback, you'll probably see people load up again and start moving up. Now, what's going to happen on earnings and all that fun stuff is a whole different ballgame, okay? This is nothing but a stimulus rally, trying to foresee the future and all that fun stuff. That's all this is, trying to front run everything. But it's not just Chinese stocks. Look at Win. That's an American company, and they got a lot of exposure over there in China. And so even these kind of companies who have been just hammered down, which Win has been hammered down, they're getting a lot of movement. People say, well, how come Apple ain't moving? Because Apple was not that far from all-time highs. It's still been moving up, even with China being the way it is. But Win's been hammered down. It's been selling down for like 4 years. And so now they see that happening, they're like, oh, great, we love this. And so they're moving up. A lot of other casino stocks are moving up. So we'll see how this plays out. Let me know what you're doing on that one. Now, when it comes to earnings, you do have a few, right? Carnival Cruise Lines, that one's going to be on Monday. Nike's going to be a big one. Paychex will be another one as well, coming out right here. And Nike will probably be a beneficiary from the Chinese stimulus as well. I think you've seen it moving up. And then, of course, we'll have Levi's, see how they do. When it comes to the American companies reporting, you can see it's really just a company-by-company basis, right? That's exactly what this is. Now, a lot of data coming out this week, okay? Monday, you got Chicago PMI, Fed, Powell speaks again at 1 o'clock. Tuesday, manufacturing PMI. So that's going to come out. Joel's job openings is going to come out. Construction spending, a boatload of Fed speakers. Can't wait to see what they got to say. Wednesday, ADP non-farm employment change. Everybody's going to be watching that. Then you're going to end up with crude oil inventories, you can see. Thursday, we'll end up with unemployment claims. Final services PMI, ISM services PMI, factory orders are coming out. And then Friday is a big day to see what the unemployment rate is going to be, along with average hourly earnings month over month, and then non-farm employment changes. Okay, guys? So do me a favor, as always, please hit that like, subscribe button. Let me know what you think about the market, especially the Chinese market, how you think that's going to go, and how you think it's going to affect our market, if it affects it at all. Okay, so feel free to sign up for the membership, which I know a lot of you have. Appreciate that. You'll get you more news brief, 2 private videos every week, and you can go in the Discord if you'd like to do that. So I'm going to go finish watching my Chicago Bears game and see if they can actually win one. So have a great rest of your weekend, and I will see you tomorrow.